It's conversation time, conversation time, conversation time, conversation time. That was an odd little intro I decided to do. So yeah, I think last time we did this was early summer or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. So I felt like, yeah, I'll do one more conversation this year. And the topic, since I'm playing a Pokemon game, not a mainline Pokemon game, but a Pokemon spin-off on my channel right now, I felt like, yeah, I'll do a Pokemon thing. So this topic is about what my ultimate Pokemon team would be. And what I mean by that is my favorites. Like my favorite 6 Pokemon that I would put on a team. And like stats doesn't matter. It's not like supposed to be like, oh, which are the best ones that for like competitive or that like what's it called? That complements each other in any sort of team building way. I'm getting distracted by little things like, oh, there's a little dust on the camera and whatever. So no, it's all about like my 6 favorite Pokemon and what team that would be. And I am unsure if I mean like, oh, if it's in real life, which Pokemon would I have then? Would I have then? Or if it's just like in a game and they were available early enough altogether and I like could get them. Would it be that way? No, it's just favorites. I'm not gonna get hung up way too long on this. I'm just gonna go. So first of all, those of you who know me, who have watched my channel, you know that my favorite Pokemon is a 3-way tie of the entire Cyndaquil line. So Cyndaquil, Quilava, and Typhlosion. But I am doing fully evolved Pokemon here. Most of my favorites are fully evolved. The Cyndaquil and Quilava are the 2... why am I forgetting words all of a sudden? They're the 2 exceptions. There we go. That took me a while to think of. And it's funny, sometimes when I forget words, I sit while editing and I'm like, oh, it's obviously that, immediately. There was one such in a recent Let's Play episode where I just went with a completely wrong word. But yeah, so Typhlosion it is. And that's specifically normal Typhlosion, not Hisuian Typhlosion. Go away. Because it's just my favorite. I really like all the Johto starters, but Typhlosion really is my favorite. And no, the other Johto starters are not on this little list of 6. So I don't have much more to say about it, so let's move on to my second favorite Pokemon, which is Scolipede from Gen 5. And I've actually never really used a Scolipede. When I played through Gen 5, I didn't get a Scolipede. I guess because I didn't know what Scolipede looked like. I just got... I caught a Venipede and put it in the computer, and I didn't really see Scolipede until later. Like that favoritism for that Pokemon sort of grew forth over a little bit of time. So I didn't have it on my main team, and since I've only played that game once, I haven't done it since. Haven't put it on a team. But I do really like Scolipede. It's something about the design that just speaks to me. I really like it. I don't really... I can't say much more than like, I like the design and I like it. Like. And then we have number 3. And this one has a bit of a longer story attached to it. Because my third favorite, which would be on this ultimate team of mine, is Pidgeot. Pidgeot is a favorite of mine originally because it was my secondary Pokemon in Pokemon Gold, my first Pokemon game. Like, after the starter, I did get a Pidgey, and that was like my secondary Pokemon. The starter was my main, which was a Feraligatr, and that Feraligatr was the first Pokemon I ever got to level 100 in my life. And it was on Gen 2, so it took a while to level it up to that level. it was a lot of grinding. And that Pokemon, I eventually traded it over to my Pokemon Crystal cartridge to help with that playthrough or something. I don't remember exactly why, I was just a little kid. And at some point I wandered into a cave. It may have been the middle section of Mount Mortar. And I didn't bring any Pokemon with Flash or that could learn Flash. I didn't bring escape ropes. I didn't have any Pokemon with Dig. And because of my Feraligatr being level 100, it like one-shot everything because it only had attacking moves. And so I was lost in there. I couldn't get out. I couldn't faint, although this probably didn't occur to me if I would just have taken a lot of time and waste all my PP on my Feraligatr and then would have struggled to death. That would have worked, but I didn't realize at the time. So I lost that Feraligatr. It was just lost in that cave. I couldn't do anything. And so my secondary Pokemon on Pokemon Gold, my Pidgeot became my new main, and that one eventually got level 100 as well. And I really felt like I got this sort of connection or bond to it in a way, weirdly. So I always appreciated Pidgeot, and then also I was so happy when we all found out, even though I haven't seen it, but the last episode of the main Pokemon anime, Ash actually went and finally got his Pidgeot back. Yeah, and Pidgeot just good design overall. I really do like that. Not unlike the other like early bird Pokemon from other generations, Pidgeot is actually quite big. The other ones tend to be a bit smaller, but Pidgeot is quite big, and I like that. Okay, so now 4, 5, and 6, they are not, because that's my top 3. Those are my top 3 Pokemon that I have, and it's in that order. But my other 3, I don't have any order for them. I don't know which one is 4, which one is 5th, and which one is 6th. So I'll just do them generation order. So Kabutops is one of them. I've always liked those designs with the scythe hands. Like mainly when I was a kid, I thought it was really cool with the Kabutops and Scyther, and to a certain extent Beedrill as well, but it's more like pointy hands. Have they ever shown like a Beedrill trying to eat or something in the anime? It has to, because it doesn't have hands. It has legs and it has the drill thingies. Which they're not really drills, they're just pokies. Whatever, off topic. No, but I out of those, I've always found Kabutops to be very interesting. And I've always wanted to have a Kabutops on like my main playthrough team. But in any game where it's available, it's usually only like really late game you can get it, since it's a fossil Pokemon, and then it just doesn't feel worth it. Especially not in the older games when grinding up levels is such a chore. But I would really like to use it someday. But now that I think back, I can't think of any recent games where it's available like in the wild in an easy way, like Kabuto. That would be then. But I really would like to use that someday. And then for the 5th one is Slowking. So I've always preferred Slowking over Slowbro. And I'm not exactly sure why. I guess maybe when I was playing Gen 2, it was because it was more difficult to get a Slowking, since you need to find a King's Rock and then trade it with the King's Rock to even get a Slowking, whereas Slowbro you just needed to level the Slowpoke up. So it felt more exclusive. I don't... like... out of all my favorite Pokemon, Slowking probably has my least favorite design out of all of them, but I do still really like it. Also maybe a small connection to the second Pokemon movie, because I remember as a kid I did really like the talking Slowking from the second Pokemon movie. It was just such a weird character. Oh yeah, we have a Pokemon in here and it can talk. Meowth can talk because it learned to talk. We don't know why the Slowking can talk, but it can talk, and it's like smart like a human. But yeah, so Slowking is good. I like Slowking. And then last but not least, another Gen 5 Pokemon, which I have used on a main team, and that is Crocodile. I'm always happy when I get to see Pokemon that have that sort of design that makes them look more like an actual creature. That was something I sort of disliked with Gen 3 and even more in Gen 4, where it happened more often, where Pokemon looks more like plastic toys that were put together with different parts. For example, Manectric, I never really liked that design, because it's like, oh, the body's blue, but the fur parts that are like very stylistic are so yellow that it doesn't look natural at all. It just looks like plastic armor or something that it's wearing. And in Gen 4, that gets even worse with a lot of Pokemon. Like, I usually think of Dialga and Palkia, and by extension Giratina as well. They look odd. They don't look like... Yeah, they're not supposed to be natural creatures in that way, but I'm still not a big fan of their designs. And Rhyperior, I never liked Rhyperior, like, because Rhydon looks so cool, and then Rhyperior just looks like... It looks like if you try to describe Rhydon to a toy designer, and they went, oh, but kids will think it's cooler if we put these parts on it. Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of the design of Rhyperior. Which is why Crocodile, which looks much more like a natural creature in that way, it stood out to me, and I did get one. Pling! I did get one for my playthrough of Gen 5. And, well, because I simply just sort of liked Sandile when I first saw it. And so Crocodile is... out of Sandile, Krokorok, and Crocodile, I do like Crocodile the best, design-wise. It just... Something about the head being big, like... Yeah, it's not much more to say for me. That sometimes it has to do with my past, sometimes it has to do with the Pokemon's design, and sometimes it's a mix. I never really watched the anime at that point, so I know Ash gets a Crocodile, but I have no connection to it in that way. But I do like Crocodile. So that's my team of 6. It's Typhlosion, Scolipede, Pidgeot, Kabutops, Slowking, and Crocodile. So 2 Pokemon from Gen 1, 2 from Gen 2, and 2 from Gen 5. And Gen 2 and Gen 5 happen to be my 2 favorite generations. So that is my personal ultimate Pokemon team. And then the question is just, what's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Which 6 Pokemon would you have on an ultimate team? And as I said, think about your favorites, not at all about competitiveness or trying to make a good team where they complement each other type-wise. Like, yeah, mine has very little overlap with typings. The only overlapping is really Slowking and Kabutops, with their both being water type. But one of them is part rock and the other one is part psychic, so it doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, let me know down below what your team... Maybe you would just have 6 of the same one. I don't know. That's kind of boring. But yeah, hey, thank you guys so much for watching this conversation. Now, don't forget and like to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Leave me. Boom. Yeah. Äntligen sång. Hey. Boom, boom. Yeah. Watch some videos. Hey. Boom.